I've contemplated this quite a bit, unsure if her response would satisfy me. It doesn't seem logical, as she knew me well. And she should have known. A part of me wonders if she actually wanted to end things to pursue a relationship with this other guy. However, she didn't want to be seen as the one who left for another guy, and perhaps she was hoping for a strong negative reaction from me so she could play the victim and avoid judgment from her friends. Maybe in a few days, I'll be ready to have that conversation. But not now. I wasn't too keen on posting another update, but some people have been inquiring, so here it is. Eventually, after taking advice from friends and some Reddit users, I decided to talk to her to clear the air. We met up at our usual coffee spot last Friday. From a distance, she looked stunning, so good that I momentarily contemplated disregarding everything and pulling her back to my place. However, as I got closer, I noticed the sadness in her eyes and the lingering signs of tears. We sat down, and before she could utter a word, I requested her to lay out the entire story. I asked her not to omit anything, as I needed the full picture. I assured her that afterward, I would pose some questions and I needed her complete honesty. The story she shared was rather straightforward. About 2 months before she raised the topic of an open relationship, during a girls' night out, she encountered an attractive exotic man. In the initial month, he was the latest novelty that all the single friends in her group were intrigued by, leading to shared experiences and conversations. As time progressed, this man, who seemed to have an irresistible charm, directed his attention towards Fran. They began dancing together and enjoying each other's company. Here's where she should have put an end to things. We had an understanding when it came to nights out dancing, and that was for her to steer clear of any guy's advances, given our perception that guys generally had ulterior motives beyond just dancing. Anyway, caught up in the excitement of the moment, she allowed herself to engage with this guy and relish the attention, thoroughly enjoying their dance. Observing the timeline, this coincided with the period I began noticing Fran's emotional distance. As time progressed, her friends divulged more intimate anecdotes about this man, which inevitably infiltrated her thoughts. She found herself daydreaming about being with him intimately, while he, too, made advances toward her. Despite the allure, she held back, likely due to our existing relationship. The influence of alcohol and the encouragement of inebriated friends often lead to misguided decisions. Over a span of 2 weeks following the revelation of the open relationship concept, they discussed ways to persuade me. They pointed to my past experiences, specifically instances of threesomes and swinging during my early 20s, and argued that I should be more receptive to the idea. However, threesomes and swinging were activities conducted within a couple and driven by pure excitement. All these events culminated in the day she broached the topic of opening our relationship. She admitted that neither she nor her friends anticipated an immediate breakup as the worst-case outcome. They presumed my reaction would range from anger to a simple refusal. Thus, in their eyes, posing the question seemed inconsequential. At this juncture, I interjected and reminded her that she should have had a better understanding of me, given our 2-year history of open communication. She acknowledged this fact. I then explained that my decision to end the relationship wasn't triggered by her inquiry alone, rather, it stemmed from the existence of another man already in the picture. To me, this constituted a significant breach of trust. Had this been an organic concern that arose, perhaps we could have navigated through it. In the worst-case scenario, we might have explored alternative solutions. However, the circumstances at hand raised a red flag for me. We explored this topic at length, after which I began querying her. I asked if she had engaged in any intimate activities with him, to which she answered in the negative. I inquired whether she had developed any feelings for him, and she again responded with a firm no. Lastly, I asked if she had seen this man again, and her answer remained a resounding no. Though it may not be a significant consolation, it did offer a small sense of relief. Nevertheless, I emphasized to her that a reconciliation was not an option for me, as I needed to prioritize my own well-being and mental health. During our conversation, I made it clear that we shared a close circle of friends and that I had no desire to jeopardize those connections. It wouldn't be fair to force them to choose sides. Instead, we should aim to maintain an amicable atmosphere. She expressed profound regret and acknowledged that she wished she could turn back time, but she recognized the impossibility of undoing the past. As our emotions became overwhelming, I signaled for the check and we departed. I escorted her to her car, a gesture that had become a habit of mine, and as she began to cry, I couldn't help but embrace her. We remained there for about 10 minutes, finding solace in each other's presence. Eventually, she composed herself, entered her car, and drove away. In a state of shock, I impulsively gathered my camping gear, escaped to the mountains, and spent the entire weekend seeking clarity and solace in nature. Upon my return to the city this morning, my phone suddenly buzzed with a flood of messages from concerned friends and family, as my sudden disappearance had sparked worry. I reassured them all that I was safe, having gone on a camping trip, and was on my way to work. Amidst the barrage of messages, I received one from her, suggesting that she felt our story wasn't completely finished and that I might need time to heal and move on. She expressed her willingness to wait, clinging to the hope of a future reconciliation. I have refrained from responding to her message, as my feelings remain uncertain and experience has taught me never to declare absolute decisions. For the time being, I plan to take things slowly, focusing on activities I enjoy, and allowing time to guide my path. That wraps up my update. Thank you all for your invaluable support and advice. Reader comment, silly question, but is there any way you could change your mind? Original poster, your question isn't silly at all. After our meeting on Friday, I find myself unsure about where my mind truly stands. At this moment, I'm merely observing and contemplating my options. I won't rush into making a decision. Reader comment, you're absolutely right about not rushing into anything. It seems clear that she cares about you deeply, but her actions were misguided, and she should have exercised better judgment rather than succumbing to peer pressure. Rebuilding trust takes time and effort, and it's important for me to ensure that I can move past this without holding it against her or using it as leverage. Reader comment, her feelings for you appear genuine, but proceeding with caution is wise. At the moment, I'll refrain from rekindling the relationship. If her feelings for me remain true, and if no boundaries have been crossed, there might be potential to rebuild our connection healthily. I do find it difficult to trust her friend's advice given the situation. Original poster, deciding on matters of the heart ultimately rests with the individual, regardless of advice received. As I've mentioned to another Redditor, I'm taking a gradual approach. I'll follow my own path and assess the situation as time goes on. If a potential solution arises, I'll consider it, but if she has already moved on by that point, it could be a sign that our paths were not meant to converge. For now, I'm working on returning to my usual routine, as I've found myself with more free time on my hands. Reader comment, while she could have handled things better, there's a degree of loyalty in her actions. I believe maintaining a reasonable level of contact is important, especially considering mutual friends. Taking gradual steps toward rebuilding the relationship might be worth exploring. Original poster, I won't completely cut her off, particularly given our shared social circle. My intention is to keep interactions civil and mature, while also creating some distance. As for the future, I remain uncertain. Reader comment, you made a commendable stand for yourself. Once another person enters the equation, it can indicate a lack of respect. Taking her back might not be in your best interest, as there are many good women who will treat you well. Original poster, it's true that our minds can play tricks on us, and thoughts and fantasies are normal human experiences. The distinction lies in whether those thoughts translate into actions. Drawing the line at taking action is crucial to me. I don't hold any ill will towards her. I must admit, though, that I feel a sense of sadness right now. It's only natural. The idea of reuniting has crossed my mind several times, but whenever I envision myself back with her, I can't help but imagine the constant worry and need to check her phone, a prospect that's absolutely unacceptable to me. I don't view her as vile, it's more a matter of us not being on the same page. I believe that deep down, she wasn't even aligned with her own feelings and thoughts. Regardless, it's time for me to move forward and embrace whatever life has in store for me. Reader comment, I feel quite embarrassed after reevaluating my previous insinuations about your ex. I apologize for any misunderstanding. You're undoubtedly a remarkable and wise individual. My sincere hope is that you discover a partner who remains loyal and loves you unconditionally. Cheers. Original poster, no need to feel embarrassed. This is the internet, and even though I provided a detailed account, it's only a tiny fraction of the whole picture. I greatly value each comment here, as they all come from a place of good intentions. That's why I sought advice on this platform. I genuinely appreciate your well wishes. Reader comment, she isn't on the same page with her own self. That statement holds a lot of truth. You're absolutely right. You require a level of self-awareness and understanding from her that she seems to lack at the moment. It's quite commendable that you recognize this and acknowledge your own self-awareness. The concern of her being easily swayed by the emotional immaturity of certain friends is valid. You're also rightly worried about potential toxic behavior stemming from trust issues. These concerns are valid and reasonable. My only suggestion is that her demeanor afterwards might indicate that couples therapy could be an option if that's something you're open to. It's clear you're considering your options carefully, and I wish you both nothing but the best. Original poster, thank you for your thoughtful words. To be honest, I'm still uncertain about where I stand right now. However, I do know that I'm not prepared to completely shut the door on the possibility of reconciliation just yet. It's clear to me that she needs to embark on a journey of self-discovery. Looking back, her behavior doesn't align with the type of person who would willingly engage in an open relationship, especially given her territorial stance towards my female friends in the past. I appreciate your kind words. Reader comment, I'm relieved that you chose to engage in a conversation and address the situation. It's evident that it's her loss, and she's likely aware of it. Often, these ill-advised actions stem from moments of excitement and impulsiveness. It might be wise for her to reflect on these friendships that seem to pull her down and undermine the positive aspects of her life. Original poster, indeed, all of us have that one friend who may not offer the best advice or serve as a great life example, yet we maintain connections with them. Ultimately, she must reaffirm her own convictions and understand that her most important judgment on any decision is her own. I can't predict if things will lead to reconciliation. I need to carefully navigate through my emotions and ensure that I can put this behind me in a way that eliminates any potential resentment. Otherwise, what's the point? Thank you for your well wishes. Reader comment, relying solely on friends' opinions isn't always the wisest path, as their intentions can be unpredictable. You made the right decision, and your mature response is commendable. Despite your composed demeanor, I understand that a part of you is hurting. It takes courage to remain composed in such a situation. You're not at fault, but her failure to communicate will likely remain a regret for her. Original poster, friends can certainly broaden our perspective, but our decisions should be grounded in our own thoughts and values. As for my current state, I'm doing my best to resist the urge to rush back to her. I want to ensure that I can fully move on before considering any future possibilities. If I can't achieve that, I may be in a rough spot for a while. Reader comment, it's possible that her apologies are driven by a desire to prevent you from cutting ties permanently. Her level of remorse may be linked to your refusal to accept an open relationship. Nonetheless, I'm focusing on myself and engaging in various activities for now. Original poster, you make a valid point. Right now, my primary focus is on myself and engaging in activities that bring me fulfillment. Reader comment, so she was in a committed relationship, fully aware of your boundaries regarding other men, but then she encounters a new guy, immediately crosses those boundaries, and expresses a desire to sleep with him. Meanwhile, her friends are cheering her on with encouragement. Let me share that she isn't trustworthy without directly saying it. And then, the follow-up question is, can we truly believe her claim that nothing has happened yet with this exciting and exotic guy who was openly flirting with her, despite her having a boyfriend? Original poster, you're absolutely right, there's no definitive way for me to be certain. Love can sometimes make us believe we can overlook things, and I admit that there are moments when I'm tempted to do just that. However, deep down, I recognize that this situation would lead me to constant speculation, not just about her past actions, but also about her current whereabouts, companions, and activities. I've come to terms with the fact that this kind of uncertainty is something I can't handle. Reader comment, were only single women getting involved with this guy? Original poster, I can't provide an absolute confirmation on that. That's precisely why I chose to end the relationship initially. Reader comment, I was asking because it's essential for partners to be aware of their girlfriend's activities, especially if they were encouraging her to breach your trust. Such behavior might indicate a willingness to cheat. Trust is a fundamental pillar of a relationship. It seems like she had this guy in mind for a fun night and attempted to mask it under the guise of exploring an open relationship. Personally, I believe the moment she allowed this guy to flirt with her or took any steps was when the breach of trust occurred. Just an observation, have you been in a similar situation before, or perhaps you've known someone who has? Your mature response to the idea of an open relationship suggests a level of understanding about what might be hiding behind such a question. Original poster, I see what you mean now. You were referring to other women. Initially, I thought you were asking about my ex's involvement. Let me provide you with some context. In our circle of friends, there's a shared mindset that having separate spaces for men and women is a positive thing. These are usually gatherings at our respective homes, but sometimes the girls decide to go out dancing and end up needing us as their designated drivers to get back home, or at least that's how it often turns out. At this point, everyone is aware of the situation, and among the couples in our group, discussions about this topic have taken place to varying extents, though I don't have all the details. As for my reaction, it has become a well-worn narrative, almost a cliché. It's widely understood that if the notion of opening up the relationship is one-sided, it's often an indicator that the person suggesting it has already acted on it or is prepared to do so. Reader comment, the decision is now hers to make. She can either yield to her own temptations and meet with the other guy, or she can focus on herself and work on rebuilding the relationship moving forward. In terms of any potential reconciliation talks, I believe a crucial starting point would be asking, have you been intimate with him? If the answer is yes, I would likely choose to move on. For instance, if she had gone on dates with someone from Tinder, that might be understandable, but if she immediately utilized her newfound freedom to reconnect with the individual who contributed to the relationship's downfall, it would significantly affect my willingness to consider reconciliation. Original poster, it's been nearly 3 weeks since our last conversation, and communication has been minimal, just a few sporadic texts here and there. To my knowledge, she hasn't met up with this other guy again, nor has she gone out dancing with her friends. Apart from that, I'm uncertain. I've set a personal deadline of 4 weeks for myself, so by next week, I should come to a decision. If, by that time, she has been dating other guys, it might indicate that she has moved on, and it could be time for me to do the same. Reader comment, nah, I wouldn't jump to conclusions like that. It's completely normal to seek distractions during challenging times. It might be a bit premature to assume the worst. Did you explicitly communicate to her that you needed some time apart to think about things? Wow, I just reread the title. Seriously, ages 36 and 43 are not the time for playing games. This situation is likely a deal-breaker if she does pursue other options. This isn't some fling that will fade away in a year, it's a serious, long-term relationship. Damn, in that case, I'd also consider ending it. Open relationships aren't typically brought up mid-relationship. It's something you usually discuss and agree upon before even entering a relationship. If one partner isn't interested in an open relationship, but the other is willing to compromise on that point, it's a recipe for trouble. In my experience, when someone proposes an open relationship during a relationship, it often suggests a desire to cheat without feeling guilty. While there are exceptions, it generally requires strict rules, like not involving people the couple knows, sticking to dating apps, or limiting it to specific circumstances like vacation flings. Original poster, age plays a significant role here. My life's trajectory is different now compared to my 20s. I was on the verge of considering moving in together and possibly even proposing marriage within a year. Reader comment, I still find it hard to distinguish between threesomes and swinging. As you mentioned, an open relationship is a no-go for you because it signals a readiness to explore something else instead of working on the relationship. Essentially, it blindsides one's partner. But an open relationship typically involves romantic or soul engagement. We can agree that she seemed more interested in the soul aspect. It's the same kind of soul involvement you had during threesomes or swinging experiences. I'm not saying you were wrong for engaging in those activities, but I can see where she might have been coming from. She might have thought, if he was comfortable engaging in soul activities with others that both parties agreed to, then why not be okay with discussing an open relationship? So, I'd like to know what you see as the key differences between your previous experiences and the idea of an open relationship that, as you said, might simply involve sex. Original poster, I understand your perspective. It's worth noting that I was much younger when I had those experiences in my early 20s. The distinction between a threesome and swinging essentially lies in the fact that a threesome involves adding a single person to a soul encounter, whereas swinging involves two couples swapping partners. The emphasis in both cases is to avoid forming emotional attachments to prevent complications. In my younger years, these experiences held a certain appeal as they were about exploration and curiosity. However, today, I wouldn't engage in such activities. Open relationships, on the other hand, typically extend beyond just soul encounters. They often involve emotional connections and dates, which, for me, marks a significant difference. Furthermore, as adults, it troubles me that she attempted to use a part of my past as justification for her actions. While she may have perceived it as an analogous situation, it's worth noting that she has her own history as well, which I wouldn't use as an excuse for my actions. Reader comment, I understand where you're coming from, but I think there might be a slight misunderstanding. Open relationships usually involve soul engagement with others while maintaining a primary romantic partner. It's not necessarily about forming deeper romantic relationships with multiple people simultaneously. From her perspective, it might have seemed like a simpler matter, just engaging in soul encounters outside the primary relationship, similar to your past experiences. Regarding your point about her already having a guy in mind, that's a valid concern. It's essential to establish trust and transparency before introducing the idea of an open relationship, especially if there's already a potential partner in the picture. Original poster, you're right, there seems to be some nuanced differences in how open relationships are perceived and practiced. Thanks for clarifying that. As for the situation with the guy she had in mind, it certainly complicated matters. Trust and communication are vital in any relationship, and those factors were strained in this scenario. Reader comment, absolutely, trust and communication are the cornerstones of a healthy relationship. It's essential to ensure that both partners are on the same page and that boundaries are clearly defined before venturing into unfamiliar territory like an open relationship. It sounds like you had valid reasons for your concerns in this situation. Original poster, indeed, and it's unfortunate that the circumstances unfolded as they did. I appreciate your insights and understanding. Reader comment, you are welcome. Relationships can be complex, and it's important to navigate them thoughtfully. It seems like you've been handling this challenging situation with a lot of thought and consideration. Original poster, thank you. I'm doing my best to approach this with maturity and respect for both parties involved. Reader comment, that's commendable. Best of luck as you continue to navigate through this. Remember to prioritize your well-being and happiness throughout this process. Original poster, I will. Thank you for your support and advice. It means a lot. Reader comment, you are welcome. Don't hesitate to reach out if you ever need further insights or just want to talk. Take care. Original poster, I appreciate that, and I'll keep it in mind. Take care as well. I also want to emphasize that successful open relationships are built on mutual understanding and agreement between both parties. Reader comment, don't make a foolish decision. Don't go back to her. Original poster, I've learned in life to never say never. It's essential to consider all factors and make a decision calmly, one that you can live with for the rest of your life. Having said that, my conclusion aligns with your advice. I won't be rekindling the relationship. It's disappointing, as I had envisioned a future with her, but circumstances didn't unfold that way. Reader comment, has she moved on to see other men? Original poster, as far as I'm aware, no, she hasn't. Friends have informed me that she has confined herself to a routine of work, gym, and home, occasionally meeting friends. They've mentioned that she's still in shock and dealing with a bit of depression, waiting for one final conversation with me. Reader comment, do any of your friends or your ex know about your Reddit account and posts? Just curious, as they might be keeping an eye to see your stance on reconciling with your ex and your other thoughts. Original poster, currently, all of them know about my Reddit account. Initially, nobody was aware of it. However, after my post gained attention on TikTok, it became public knowledge. Honestly, I'm not overly concerned. I'm not easily manipulated and value my own agency. Reader comment, wait, that guy slept with multiple girls from the same friend group, and they were all okay with it. First, I'm a bit envious, haha. But secondly, I've never heard of such a scenario where the girls were aware and fine with it. Original poster, not all of them, to my knowledge. It seems to involve around 3 girls, who I personally find to be quite adventurous or unconventional in their outlook. Reader comment, so, she did all this because the guy was good-looking? She distanced herself from you just to become one of the girls he's sleeping with? Even though the other girls are her friends? And she's 36 and still clubbing? Probably really into Instagram, huh? If it were me, I would have ended things the moment she danced with another guy. Original poster, actually, our agreement was that she could go out dancing with her friends as long as there were no guys involved. Regarding her distance, I think it might have been a mix of confusion, guilt, or perhaps I started to seem unappealing to her. As for her wanting to be involved with the guy, I'm not entirely sure of her motives. It's unclear whether she sought a hall pass or genuine freedom to engage with other men. Reader comment, girls' nights have always revolved around guys, and they likely always will. Original poster, well, therein lay the issue. My expectation was that my girlfriend would be a woman, not just a girl. Reader comment, this comment might be quite lengthy, but I hope you'll still take the time to read it. And, by the way, no need to apologize for your English. I believe she might have been influenced by her friends and caught up in a fantasy that disregarded the harsh realities of the situation. For instance, while she might have wanted an open relationship to sleep with this guy, she might not have fully considered the implications, such as you also having the same freedom. The question arises whether she could truly enjoy such a scenario while having you in her thoughts, and if her post-encounter realization would bring her back to reality. It seems like she got carried away in the idea. Honestly, I don't think I could consider getting back with her if she maintains such a close bond with those friends. I'm not suggesting she should completely cut them off, but distancing herself might be a wise move. Surrounding oneself with people who genuinely bring out the best and have long-term well-being in mind is essential, rather than just seeking momentary pleasures without considering the aftermath. Long-term compatibility should be the focus, not just a fleeting excitement that leads to complications. If one of my friends were to make such a drastic shift in behavior, I would approach them and question whether this truly aligns with their values and principles. It's important to ask if they can handle the potential consequences, as it's not just about a one-night experience but the lasting impact on their relationship. If you do have a conversation with her again, even if reconciliation is off the table, it might be beneficial to bring this perspective to her attention. Encourage her to reflect on her friendships and evaluate if they truly have her best interests at heart. Suggest taking her time to assess the dynamic and whether it aligns with her true self. I also believe that if she were to distance herself from her friends' influence and behaviors during those nights out, it might alleviate your need to constantly monitor her or check her phone. Recognizing that her actions were driven by group dynamics and not her genuine desires could provide some reassurance. If she chooses to step away from that scenario, the likelihood of a similar situation occurring again could decrease. It's a bit like the peer pressure of teenagers engaging in activities they don't truly want, just because everyone else is doing it. Advising her to reconsider her friendships might help her regain her own sense of identity and values. I've had a few discussions with her about her friends, particularly the trio you mentioned, and how their priorities seem to supersede her best interests. While I understand that insecurities could have made her susceptible to their influence, ultimately, the decision was hers to make. At this stage in life, she's meant to be a woman making thoughtful choices, not swayed by the whims of others. One aspect that particularly troubles me is her prior defensiveness about my female friends. She even agreed not to spend time alone with any of them. Given that, I struggle to comprehend how she believed an open relationship could be a viable option. In the end, the situation is what it is. I haven't fully resolved it in my mind, but I'm finding a sense of calm that allows me to reflect further. Reader comment: what did you mean when you described the guy as exotic? Original poster: she referred to him as exotic. He turned out to be a guy from Central America, embodying the typical Caribbean spirit of dancing and being the life of the party. It's nothing out of the ordinary, and